Ahí se ve.
Momentarily, we'll be calling to order the March 21st regular meeting of the Rutherford Board of Education. I would ask you all to rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and thank you for coming out this evening. We have a busy evening. I will first read the mandatory statement at the beginning of our... we'll do the roll call first. Ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Here.
Mr. Arce?
Here.
Mr. Chu?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mrs. Lanny?
Here.
Mrs. Librera?
Here.
Mr. Mazzone?
Here.
Mr. Racine?
Here.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
You have a quorum. Thank you.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted on the bulletin board outside of the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available in the meeting room, and the agenda is posted electronically on the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org. Regular meetings of the Rutherford Board of Education will be broadcast without editing during a 2-hour segment as limited by Comcast time constraints on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. on the Comcast Public Access Channel and on FiOS Channel 38. A video of the meeting can also be viewed on our website, www.rutherfordschools.org. The video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link and clicking on Public Meetings, then Videos. Any member of the public who wishes to view a DVD of the meeting can make that request in writing to the Board Secretary. We had, to the board members, we had in your packets the minutes from the regular meeting of February 22nd and the executive session of February 22nd. Were there any corrections or notations regarding those minutes? Hearing none, and without objection, we will ask the secretary to enter them into the record. We have several delightful presentations this evening. One for the art students of high school, and the other Pierpont School Robotics, which is in front of us now. We will do the art student presentations first, and then we'll come to you, so hold on.
Mr. Met, Ms. Castellano, with us tonight to present the awards, Ms. Castellano, from the art department, Mr. Met, also from the art, TV production, and photography, and they'll present with Mr. McLean the awards to members of our high school photography classes who have their work up in Borough Hall this past quarter of the school year. Ms. Castellano?
We have Jonathan Artieda. We don't see. Jason Barilla. Jessica Clancy. I'm sorry. Brooklyn Figueroa. It's in the same order? Okay. Haley Galvis. I don't see. Henrietta Gomez. Bianca Griffin. Kimberly Casely. Amelia Lorenz. Hallie Masiag. Megan McLean. Okay. Sarah Paoli. Katrin Spiridonova. Ryan Torrance. Isabel Volpe. And last but not least, Gianna Way. Was there one more? No, that's just one. Yeah.
Maybe one quick plug.
Oh.
We had 16 students that are on display at the board office now, and their work is tremendous. But that's only 16 of our hundreds of students taking art classes here. On May 25th, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, we have the Evening of the Arts here. We'd love if everybody came out and checked out these 16 students plus all of our other students as they display ceramics, drawing, painting, photography, video production.
Textiles. We'll have some live music. We'll have some theater, some performance art,
And more.
and more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Our second presentation, also animated, I guess, is the Pierpont School Robotics Club. And Mr. Helbenstein, will you say a few words? Sure.
Unfortunately for all of you, I have a lot more than a few words. And could probably talk like for the next 20 years about the stuff they've done and how proud I am of them. But I hear we have 20 minutes. So I'll try to keep my comments to as little as possible and let them shine. We're starting off with the presentation here, so we'll follow that mostly. It's always nice when it works, right? I'm going to, Is it okay to take this mic up there? Or no? Yeah? Okay, so I'll start off with a couple things to say and then retire and let them take over. But to start off, this is our group, and it's just a little bit of a collage here for the whole year that we've had so far. This is the 2016. All the pictures are from this year, even though our club started last year. And so I wanted to start here talking about Mrs. Carrion, because the thing is that this is pretty much where it starts for me, and while these guys are still quite young. For me, after just a normal observation and talking with that and other various things that are going on, once I spoke with Joan, and she had mentioned the possibility of plans for STEM and STEM lab and other various things like that. And the thing that I'd like to point out here, as a young teacher, when you're just starting off, and I didn't start off in 2009, but so I'm talking like, 1998. So, but the deal is like when you start off and you hear that, oh, so educational leadership, that's the degree they get when they want to be principals. Okay. And so, as a teacher, you think about that a little bit, but really it does come down to leadership as far as this is concerned, because if it hadn't been for Joan saying something to me and knowing me well enough and connecting things together, at the time I had a solar power company. And she had said potentially that I could be a person who could do it. And for those of you who don't know, I teach social studies. So my areas of certification are elementary education and social studies and music. And I thought, well, at the time, that's interesting, and I thought about it a little bit. And what happened was that in learning about Google Classroom and other various things like that, I went to an in-service, and I had a little bit of downtime, and I had seen that in a room they had a 3D printer. And as a social studies teacher, for those of you who had me a couple of years ago, you probably remember me talking about them. Yep, I see heads nodding. I've been enamored with them for a long time, and so I said to Joan, well, maybe I could write a grant for that. And it's nice that she really pretty much, when it came down to that, encouraged me to and believed pretty much that I could do it. So that's nice. Which brings us to, because that would be a while ago, Mr. Hurley at the beginning of this year then, recognizing the students' STEAM interest for them, and at the same time offering me the opportunity to be in charge of the VEX robotics, which came from the jointure, and that's a lot of fun. They've had a good time with that. And Mr. Placenti and Mrs. Carrion, of course, they've tirelessly encouraged and supported the STEAM students' growth and development. After our first competition, I have the blue shirt on, which is from the first competition, and all the students, they have on the green one, which is the one that we just most recently won. And after that, it became clear that with all the kids that we had, regularly, we've had about probably 26 kids in the club, and on a regular basis, about 18. They come and they meet during the lunch period and give up their time. And they look at the robots, and it became clear that having 2 more would help them be able to write program better, and at the same time be able to practice and come up with designs, which we'll talk quite a bit about, because the robots that you see in front of you do not necessarily need to look like that. And I'll talk through this just really quickly, but there's a lot of debate right now between STEM and STEAM. And I'd like you to think this stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And often the arts are left out. In the West Coast of the country, a lot of people are proponents for arts. And the more and more that I think about it, the more and more I realize I think that arts should also be included. If you take a look at the iPhone, one of the things that makes it interesting in design is the fact that a designer came up with the design for it, and that's one of the appeals. I don't know if you can still hear me. Of course, you all know what an iPhone looks like, and you all know what a Mac looks like, and it's the thing that makes a Ferrari so desirable. And to some extent, as the kids make the robots, it's what makes them want to match the blue pegs or the maroon pegs, or have it some kind of aesthetic appeal, and that certainly is arts. And so I feel more and more passionately that it should be STEAM. Also, I wanted to throw up the STEAM definition. We have Joanne Vasquez from the National Science Teacher Association. It's an interdisciplinary approach, and the thing is, for me, this is interesting because a lot of time, one of the biggest debates for STEM or STEAM is integration. And for me, since my background is social studies, music, and elementary ed, and I used to teach high school, but I have not necessarily taught in a science nor in a math classroom, for me, I see them all as related, which takes us back to the gears. The thing is that for all the gears to work, you'll notice that they're interlocking and they're all intermeshing. For one gear to turn, they all have to turn exactly at the same time. If a person wants to talk about science at one point, then they can. But if they want to come over to technology, they can loop around while the gear goes. At the same time to engineering. But even though you're talking about engineering, I'd like to point out with this metaphor, all of the gears still continue to turn. And that's integration. Goal. Of course, the goal for the maturation of the students that they have the skills and really the 21st century skills, the critical thinking, the communication, collaboration, and creativity, which you'll definitely see evidence of tonight while the students are talking. Then what's my goal? I had thought about at one point just saying, so they have good jobs and can pay for our Social Security. But I thought that would be maybe fall a little flat, which it looks like it did. And so the thing is, the lasting result is supposed to be something that the United States would again, of course, rise to the top of international rankings, and you'd have students who are cognizant and literate as far as the STEM fields are concerned. So we have our club members, and these are their goals. I thought what we'd do is just take a second for them to introduce themselves, tell you what grade they're in, and a little something about the STEM club.
My name is Juan.
Hold on. Hold on, Juan. Do you mind coming over here to take the mic from me?
You can give him one of our mics. I'll do that.
And then walk back over.
Careful, careful.
Careful, buddy.
My name's Juan. I'm in 6th grade, and my favorite part of STEAM is that you can really just go wild and use your imagination with everything you can, with everything you got, and just use it all.
Juan, and everybody else, when you're talking, you want to make sure the mic comes towards your mouth.
Like this? Like that? What? My name is Joey, and I'm in 7th grade, and the best part about STEM is that you can do anything that is possible, and nothing seems impossible in it.
Hi, my name is Katie. I'm in 8th grade, and I joined STEM to learn more about robotics, which was one of my interests, but not only did I learn more about robotics, I made new friends, and I found people who also liked the interests that I liked.
Hi, my name is Mahogany. I'm in 7th grade, and my favorite part about STEM is working together with new people that you never knew, but now you get to know each other by STEM.
So, first off, we had to get the parts for the robot to build them. And then once we got the parts, we had to sort them and learn more about them. Fortunately, the box that the parts came in came with this huge poster. Oh, thank you. Wrong way. came with this huge poster that labeled all the parts and what they did. So, for example, there are gears, there are like stoppers and pegs and bars, and they would hold up all the robots and parts. Okay, so after we sorted all the parts and learned more about them, we built our first robot, which was called the Clawbot. We first used an instruction because we didn't know how to build a robot. So we built from using these instructions, which detailed saying, oh, you need this pegs. It's kind of like a Lego manual. It says, these are the parts you need, this is how you put it together. So this is our first robot. The only things it could do was pick up stuff and drive around, but still we were so proud because we were able to make it work.
After building our robot, we caught on that we might be able to get it to help us unpack the parts. And you notice that it's the wall for it.
All good.
You can't quite hear the cheering, but boy, were we surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So, after the Clawbot, now we had to do competition. Now we had to do competition, where the high-rise, it was a playing field like this, but they were all blocks. Like on the table here, Quan, grab them. There's these blocks. Now, we built robots that could lift them up and stack them, which gave us extra points. And we have robots that push them to the scoring field, which also gave us points. Then the bank shot. This is the one we have right here. The goal is to get as many points as the other one. We have to take the balls, we have to flip them over the bar to get some points, or we have to shoot them into the hoop, which gets 3 points, and then we have to park it up that ramp and knock down all the balls, which gets us even more points. Okay, the first competition was the high rise. Like I said, you had to put all of them. And the robot, we did more. We did YouTube, we went through the engineering process, and we went through some sketches, which some of them I drew. Did anyone want to see them? I'll pass them around. The first one on there is Divergent, which was the first one I came up with. And yeah. Each one has a specific competition it would be worked for. So we had different designs, everyone was specific, and then we didn't have any directions, we just went all out and we chose differently. And we had 4-bar lifts and an elevator, which helped us a lot in the high rise. And the high-rise winners, out of all, which was pretty good, we made 3rd place and we tied first for autonomous.
Our second competition, we won 1st place. And basically, what Joey said, we moved everything to over the bar and try to make as most points as we want. This is a game manual. Basically, we follow the rules. Not everyone knew the rules. And we followed the rules as we went along, and this is how we made our winning robot, because we followed the rules as we went and we planned it.
We realized we had to have a good design. In our previous competition, we had a great design, but we also needed to have a good strategy, right? And that's why we're looking at the rules for the actual competition.
The Bing Shot robot design. Well, we had one that has a flipper, and so this is one right here that has the flipper, and the other one has a flipper and a convertible, and it's going around right now, and this is basically what we built. One flips and one shoots and flips.
Oh, yeah, put it in there. It's really good.
Watch out, Diane, it shoots.
I was going to say, pointing at me.
No, it only shoots balls. It's not a gun. Don't worry.
Wow, look at that. That is really great.
Okay, this one we had 4 robots, and we colored them, and basically we scored them each week. So as the week went on, week 1 we was going against each other, and this was our scores as on the board. And not many of us won. 2 of them did not win, and so the other 2 went to the competition.
So we realized that if we can get the balls there, then we also have the pretty much the basket where you can put the balls in. And so we started thinking about how we can get the balls into the basket to score the extra 3 points. We had 3 designs. One is that. Could you set this up? Could you hold this?
Okay,
So you put this onto here, and it was pretty much like a crossbow, where you would put a ball here, and then since this has a lot of potential, it would just shoot, and then it would potentially put the ball inside. And then that one we just did. So then we also had this one, which was pretty much a ram, which the motor would move this backwards, and then when you let go, the rubber band would just shoot it. but this one couldn't really work because it couldn't get enough energy to actually make it get into the basket. And then this one was our final design that finally worked, where, as you can see on the one that is still somewhere around there, the motor makes the gear move this way, and so the ball is here, and then this would just shoot. Oops, if I can get this going.
I'll make this hand go.
Okay. It would just go like this, and then and so, since that has a lot of potential, since that has a lot of force with the rubber bands, it would have enough strength to make it into the basket. And I think that's it. And so that's pretty much the same
Got a
exact.
bit of fire in there on that one.
Yeah. If you can.
Take a look, actually. This is a catapult design. And Juan was a proponent of the catapult design. He had gotten a catapult and put that together. And one of the difficulties here in engineering this design, the hands can wind it, but then you have to have a way to let the stored energy and the various levers work together. And so he actually designed this one.
I have it right here. Which is pretty much, if you want to show it, the ball would go through the middle, and then once you dump it back, you would push the control back, and then it would just release it. And since the rubber bands are here, it would give it enough stored energy to shoot far enough, as in the video.
And the genius of that is that the tension of the motor would allow a gear to disengage, which would allow the stored energy to have the ball shoot forward, which is really, it's pretty phenomenal that they were able to come up with that. But as Mahogany was pointing out, ironically enough, that's not one of the robots that won in our competition. And because it's not a winning iteration, it's not a version that went to the competition, and therefore it was on the wayside, and we ended up with the other two that actually did go to the competition.
So all the other schools had like different designs, but most of them didn't really work, or their designs had many flaws with them. So for instance, like the one on the right, it had a elevator idea that we were looking at, but then once we looked at it more, we discovered that it was a flawed version of a flawed shooting system. So we decided not to do that. But then the other teams did.
So, like I said, what we did, the problem with the shooting idea with the conveyor belt was it wasn't efficient enough to get enough balls, which is why we settled on the flipper design. Also, the flywheels of this one here didn't have enough energy to go forward. And so even though you could get it to exit the flywheels, as we call them, the problem was it wasn't enough to go in the basket, which is why they eventually moved the catapult and the knee jerk designs. So, we're going to have a little bit of, we have backup videos if these don't work out very well. Like, as I said before, we had like 20 or so people. Tonight, we're fortunate enough to have these four. Thanks guys for coming. And of them, actually, they had to compete in order to be the drivers. Now, one thing that's probably not very obvious at this point either is from a coding standpoint, because they built the motors and put them in a certain way, they actually had to code the motors. Juan, can you hold up the controller, please? So even though it looks like a Sony PlayStation controller, the fact of the matter is they had to assign different motor speeds and other various things to the controllers so that the controllers would correctly manipulate the robots in the way that they wanted it to, so that the strategy would play out. So let's you guys demonstrate it. Okay. Over here you'll see a strategy sheet. It's off by 5 second intervals because there's only 1 minute Each team has 1 minute to do as many things as possible. As far as the scoring goes, this is what they're working on. So any ball that gets off the ramp is worth 1 point with a potential of 16 points. Any ball that's put over the fence is called the scoring zone. They would get 1 point for that. If the robot at the end is successfully parked on the ramp, they will get 10 points. If they can get a ball to shoot into the basket, then they get 3 points. We identified early on that our biggest strategy was to get the balls off the ramp, because it's potentially 16 points, have a robot that can climb the ramp, because that would be 10 points, and to flip as many over the fence as possible, because that would get us 1 point each. On the other hand, wasting time with shooting them could eat up a lot of time, because there's only 1 minute. One of you guys count for them? He's one. And so here goes the demonstration of driver control for robot without the shooter.
3, 2, 1, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
So they just got 5 points from that. They have to switch between 25 and 35 seconds. So that's 4 more points. Why don't you put the flipper down?
6, 7, 8, 9, 6.
So they empty balls from the ramp. You got 9 balls? Nice job, guys.
Good job.
So they just earned 17 points. The highest we ever got was 64. The team that built the previous robot decided that they didn't want to fool around with the shooter and that they thought it made it unstable. This team decided that they wanted to try the catapult proof or prototype, and because of that, they were actually eventually able to win. So they'll demonstrate that now.
3, 2, 1, go.
Good job.
Now, in this case, it didn't work out for Juan, and he was one of the drivers from the competition, so nice job, Juan. Why don't you drive it over there, put a ball in place, or pick up a couple balls so people can see how that would work. Now, the beauty of this design is that if by chance they get enough balls in the right spot, those balls wouldn't have been there because the strategy was not to knock them off yet. As the flipper goes up, you'll notice there's two possible balls that might actually load. So it's self-loaded, and now he's able to shoot.
Nice.
And it didn't take any extra time because of the design that they came up with. Nice job. You guys want to send it back up? So we wanted to show you the design of the robots because you can see that these are more sophisticated, and sophistication so often just comes to us in the package of simplicity. And we expect it to work reliably, and really honestly take for granted all the hours and hours and hours of design that go into it. And so that's why I wanted to show you the other designs. Also, since this is the point that we're at, it's one thing to have a robot that works based on the code that you came up with that makes the controller work so that the human can interact with the robot. It's another thing, and actually Mr. Racine came by once, and helped us through email, and that was nice. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. With some code. And the thing is that this one, in order to appreciate the code that the kids came up with, I thought it would be good to show you some of the code from the other schools. Now this first one that I'm going to play, I decided to label back and forth. But these will all be very obvious. The robot's in this corner. Unfortunately, it's gotten stuck in the corner, and now it's not able to perform the way that you'd want it to. This one, I'm sorry, that's just back and forth. This is the one I decided to call stuck in the corner. Now, so the program got the robot to the corner, but you've noticed that they can't get it to flip, they can't get it to do anything. Impressive, really, in a way that they're able to get the robot to do anything at all. Now this one is able to go to the ramp. Now realize no one is controlling it. This is just the coding for the robot. The problem is they didn't design a robot in such a way that it can have enough traction to actually stay on the ramp. This one, it actually can do okay and it can drive up the ramp, but it's got its own issues for staying on. You see the robot over here? So it's going to go forward fine. It's going to sense that it needs to turn. It's going to drive up the ramp, and it's starting to knock balls off. You're doing a good job. The problem is that it came off itself, and that's how it can't stay on. Which means they're going to lose points, instead of earning 10 points for being able to stay on. So, our code worked. It worked well enough that they made it look easy. So, Joey and Mahogany during the competition are the ones that operated the robots for the code. So, I'll let them take over.
Okay, so the robots that you just saw in the video wasn't ours. That wasn't ours. Ours actually worked. Our strategy was we had a long one and a short one. So if the long one didn't work as well as we thought it would, we would hurry up and restart it and put it on the short one.
For the robot I was controlling, the strategy that we used was short. So if the short one failed, then you would pick it up, back up, set it back up, and then try the short one again until we got back on the ramp. It goes up the ramp. It just goes up the ramp.
Who's going first?
To show it? Okay. Oh, I'll go.
The one that Joey's showing now is her code. Wait, Joey. And this one is without the controller.
Get her the other side of it, Joey.
As you can see, it's going straight. And then it's going to turn and go up the ramp. And stay on.
And then there you go. So because they've all been emptied, we got 16 points. It's on the ramp, which was 10 points, so we got 26. It didn't shoot any, but that was part of the strategy. Okay.
No,
I'm
this
going to
one.
start from long. 2, 1.
And right now, Mahogany is going to show their strategy for this one.
Do long first. It's a 32-second program for it to run. So Mahogany right now is checking to make sure it's going to go on the ramp, and it's got a wrong angle because as it backed up, it hit one of the orange balls, so the angle of the robot changed. You have 1 minute, and she has enough time because it's 32 seconds. So now she's going to run the short program, which will make it so that the robot goes forward, takes a right, senses where it is, knocks off the other balls, hopefully, which it did. Now all it has to do is just wait for the time to expire. Nice job, guys. And the results is a clean sweep. They won all the categories.
All right.
Now, I don't know how we're doing for time. We could demonstrate writing code, but my guess is it sounds like your doc is very busy tonight. And you kind of get the idea. So we were set up for Juan to write some code with a simple go forward. And you could say if you want to go left or right, you could demonstrate how it's done. But basically, this is the program they're using over here in ModKit. And what else is there? That's another question. Augie?
Since there is no more STEM, our group wanted to stay together because we're all friends, and this year we wanted to stay together. So we came up with some other things. We came up with 3D printing, which is over there, bridge competition, crane design, CAD design, snap circuits, coding, maze challenge, Arduino boards, BattleBots. And the snap circuits and the snap circuits is over here.
Show them the radio.
Okay.
The radio.
Come on, we gotta get pop.
Yeah, they got a station before. Can you hear it? WQXR, what do you know?
We also had some British radio.
Over there.
Which was over there, yonder. I don't know how that was.
This one is a moving one. Do it on the ground. And as you can see, it can move.
That's from the LED.
And this is the LED, which lights up.
Now they're ready to sell stuff in a dollar store. So I don't know if time permits, but do you have any questions that you want to ask them or anything?
Any questions?
I would add, how many, so a couple of years from now, you'll be in the high school. Do you picture you're going to be following the STEM and STEAM program?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yes.
That was great, really great.
Oh, and this is our mascot that we made. we called it Mr. Roboto, and the little thing in front of him is his pet. And yeah.
Because every team needs a mascot. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And, you would have no way of knowing this, but I'm an engineer by training. So, I mean, you can look forward to someday sitting on a board of education. I try to convince my family of this. They don't always agree with me, but, I believe from engineering comes all other knowledge. So you're really doing a great job.
I concur.
Great. I would like to, with no objections, we'll take a 5-minute recess, allow the robots to clean up after themselves, and we say congratulations and people to leave. So we will we'll come back into session then, if everyone's ready. And we will move to the next order of business, which is the report of the superintendent, please.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? Excuse me.
Okay.
We're going to change the order.
Okay.
We're going to change the order and have the student representative give his report first.
It's the quickest report ever.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This week is it's a very special week in Rutherford High School because it is the beginning of our Spirit Week, which is for the senior class very special because it is almost the beginning of the end as we start looking towards graduation and our college plans or plans for life after graduation from high school. So just to start the week off, the student council will come up with various guidelines to follow throughout the week, such as a theme day, a color day, or a generation day, all capped off at the end of the week by a blue and white day and concluded with a pep rally which celebrates the culture at Rutherford High School and the sports teams. So that is just one of the many things that we are looking forward to in the future for the school. And April 1st to conclude March and begin the spring of at Rutherford, we have the junior formal, which allows the junior class to at least realize that they are a part of the upperclassmen now and that they should be taking their role seriously in the school in guiding the lower classmen and looking towards their role as seniors next year.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Sean? If not, we will let you go to spend the rest of the night studying hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
And now, if we can circle back and ask the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you. The presentation we saw with the robotics certainly was very impressive. And again, I want to mention, it was mentioned by Mr. Helfingstein, that quite a bit of the funding for the club came from the REF through the Rutherford Education Foundation, and the competition and the robots that were used in the competition. Much of that came from the South Bergen Jointure Commission, which hosted this STEM competition, robotic competition this year for the first time, aimed to middle school age students. So the support of the REF, working with the Jointure, gave our students the opportunity, and certainly Mr. Helfingstein's enthusiasm was tangible, and it's and that then reflects with the students, and you see the enthusiasm growing. Much of what we've been talking about over the past year and a half in terms of curriculum, about interdisciplinary approach and real project base and multiple ways of getting learning across, these are some of the programs we've been talking about and wanting to bring into the middle school and the upper elementary school. Next year, we will be on track to do that. So it's a good program. Semi-annually, I read the violence and vandalism information that's required to be submitted to the state. We have to give a midpoint report, and then we do a report at the end of the year. So this year we have district-wide report period 1, which ran to the end of the first semester. We had 3 reports of violence in the schools, 1 vandalism, 0 weapons, 2 substance abuse, and 7 confirmed reports of hit. Compare and contrast to last year, we are about at the same level where the annual reports were last year. Total incidents of 26. I believe this year we have 9, 10, 13, I'm sorry, 24 last year, 13. So we're about the same. Although when you hear 3 reports of violence, keep in mind a violent report means a student may have shoved a student may have through one punch at a student. That violence is anything that is a suspendable offense for a violation of the code of conduct that involves an altercation. With 2,600 students in 6 different buildings, these numbers are not alarming. I think, in fact, they are remarkably low. We wish we had none across the board, but one act of vandalism, to substance abuse, these are not alarming numbers. Our staff works to make sure these numbers stay low and to hopefully get to the point where there's none. This week at the high school, for example, Officer Detective Anderson and Mr. Dorn, our SAC, are going to be doing class meetings regarding social media and some of the concerns about social media. Most of the HIBs come out of things that start on social media and carry into school. So we take a very proactive approach to this, and I think the numbers reflect positive, but again, our goal would be have none. I don't think that's a goal that's ever going to be reached when you have 2,600 school-age folks in one place for 10 months, but that's the goal. So before I move on to the rest of my report, any questions or comments? A couple of updates. The high school play was this weekend, Beauty and the Beast, and it was with a Sunday matinee for a Disney play. Great crowd, great reviews, and congratulations to Mr. Ursulisi and all the faculty and the students who were involved, the cast and crew. This week, Washington School will be having Discovery Day. It's an annual event. They pick a topic. They get folks from the district, folks from the community come in, and there's been different topics every year. This year is kind of a health, wellness, healthy body, healthy mind equals a happy life is the theme. And they'll be talking about different ways to keep physically fit, stress-free, and so you can enjoy your day more. Physically fit and stress-free. I'm going to spend my entire day on March 24th at Washington School to try to absorb as much of that as I can. But that's again a nice program every year. Also, we will be running an open house. We just made that decision a day or two ago, and we just got the word out for the new integrated preschool programs that will be at Washington and Lincoln. It will be on April the 8th during the school day. We'll be sending a flyer to every parent who has registered already, every parent who picked up a packet considering registration, and we'll also be putting a message out on the web and in the local paper to encourage folks who maybe haven't picked up a packet yet to register to come and see the program. We're running it at 2 locations, the preschool, Washington and Lincoln. We're going to do the open house at Lincoln. The classrooms that are being used are very similar. The building design is very similar, but we had we were going to centralize where we're doing that. That's going to be on April 8th. During the day, there'll be 3 different sessions that a parent can sign up for to come in. And if it doesn't work, that one of those sessions, I'm sure we'll be able to at least meet with the parent at a later date to have them see the program. This past weekend, we had that coffee hour, and I met with several of you were there, and we had about maybe 25 to 30 members of the community. Has been discussed in social media and been discussed in the newspaper and was discussed at the coffee hour. The before and after care discussion and decision has been postponed and tabled, as is stated in tonight's agenda. There will be presentations made at our next meeting, April 4th, and there will be the opportunity for the public to make comments, the board obviously to ask questions of the presenters, and then April 25th we'll be asking the board to make a decision. And again, in the interim, there's opportunity for questions, comments from the public, or questions from the board or from me to the presenters. And on the 25th, there's also the opportunity to speak that night prior to the board making a decision. A couple of things on the agenda that I want to point out that I mentioned in my communication to the board for the folks who are either here or watching later. There is approval for the comprehensive equity plan. That's every 3 years. We have a committee that looks at all of our policies and procedures in terms of affirmative action, and the plan both lists how we comply with affirmative action code and also sites where we are in compliance with policies. And that has to be approved at the board level, then sent up to the county, where the county will approve it. I have been talking for the last several weeks, waiting for winter to come to an end, and I almost thought that today it was going to make a comeback. But as you know, we only used one snow day this year. The way the calendar, which is approved by the board, is designed, is if we don't use all of our snow days, the Friday before Memorial Day is a day off for everyone. School is closed. But with the extra snow day there and the need for some professional development for the reorganization plan, we are asking the board to have a calendar change to make the Tuesday after Memorial Day be a professional day for faculty and staff. Students would have the day off. That would be our last snow day, so to speak. And on that day, we'd be doing a lot of look-ahead training and planning. Grades 7 to 12 with a new modified block, a 57-minute period. We have a group teacher-to-teacher that we've used before, who will come in and provide training to those teachers to help in terms of the adjustment to the slightly longer period. We're going to have more co-teaching going on. We're going to do some turnkey training on that. In the elementary and the upper elementary, where we're going to be putting a lot of different courses in and different teams, we'll be having planning and collaborating with faculty and staff. So it'll be a very useful day, I think, for the faculty and staff, and that's on the agenda for a change. Now, if we get hit with by putting it that Tuesday, I think it allows parents and students to have a longer weekend. It also gives us more time should we get some strange April snow or some other problem that means we have to lose a day to reconsider whether or not we keep the day, and it wouldn't be a short notice to parents and students. Also, we are looking for a job description approval for a network technician. Obviously, any position that we approve and any hiring that we do will come after the approval of the budget. But this is a position as we're growing with technology, growing with STEM, growing with park testing, growing with one-to-one, a pilot. Several years ago, we reduced the staff in the IT department. Bringing back a network technician that would be a level below the network administrators we currently have will greatly facilitate the increased technology and demands. Remember, it's not only curriculum that our techs work with, our network administrators, but the entire infrastructure of our system, our student database, our faculty and staff database, our scheduling, our budget, our everything we do now is through our, as it is in all businesses, is through our technology. So this would be, I think, a much needed position to help with that burden. Again, we're not approving hiring somebody tonight, we're approving a job description so that if everything falls into place, we can go out there and get the person. One other thing for approval, as we mentioned last time with committees and at the board meeting, in an attempt to bring students back to a least restrictive environment and to get some of our students back into district, we have proposed 2 additional special ed programs. One would be a full-day preschool ABA, which is a class for autistic children. It would differ from the from the integrated program that we currently have. And the other is a MD multiple disabled class, which is very similar to the LLD class we currently run, except that these are students with hence the multiple disabled, with various reasons for cognitive issues, as opposed to just being language learners disabled. And it would provide, again, an opportunity for those students to remain in district, especially in the middle school, and this program would then grow into the high school, and we're hoping that the preschool autistic will grow into the elementary school to keep students in more contact with general ed in their community and in their school here in Rutherford. We're talking about maybe 11 students coming back. There would be the need to hire staff, some specialized staff, and that you'll see coming in job descriptions at the next meeting should we approve the program. Keep in mind that the additional staff that we would need to hire would not add anything to the budget. We would still be reducing some of the expenditures in the budget because of the return to tuition. And non-agenda items, there's 3 quick ones to mention. I spoke to you about committee meetings next week. We are changing the schedule a bit. We have a rather lengthy but doable agenda in personnel and policy, and also curriculum and instruction. So we'll have those 3 committees meet, as noted in the communication, at 6:45, 7:15, and 8 o'clock. We do not have any major building and grounds initiatives. However, regardless of what's on the agenda, we will meet the next cycle in April because it's been a while since we've met. Finance will be picking a meeting, I'm sure, based on the final hearing for the budget. And as we discussed, we're going to delay the strategic planning a little bit, maybe even make it a meeting of the whole board, because there's a lot going on right now with budget negotiations and the like. And the last 2 items, park testing will begin in April. The calendars are on the website. With the reduction in the testing window, we're able to focus on 1 school at a time for the most part, and not have to overlap schools, which helps with the infrastructure and the use of computers. Pierpont begins, I believe, April 4th, and then it runs into May with different schools involved. And you should have received, parents should have received a notification or will very shortly from their school. Some of the schools that are testing a little later may send it out a little bit later, but all the dates are on the calendar. And I posted on the web last week some frequently asked questions about park for review. And there's been a lot of discussion in the media about lead in water, and Newark has had some problems, and certainly that came out of the situation in Flint. We have always relied on the reports from the borough, that from United Water that presents to the borough, and there has never been problems indicated with water coming into the borough. But in light of all that's out there, we are in the process of reaching out to some groups, companies, to come in and do some testing in the schools themselves. I would rather take a proactive approach. I know that the borough is thorough in the water that comes into from United Water, but I would still like to take a proactive approach and see what we have. So once we get a couple of bids, estimates from the companies, we'll come probably to the board. We'll go out and have a company come in, and we'll see what the tests show us. But I think in this case, I'd rather take the test than wait for something to happen where we are reacting. I'd rather be proactive on this. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hurley regarding any of the items reported on? I think from the board, thank you for being proactive on the lead testing. It's something I'm sure that the community appreciates as well. The next item will be a report of the president. I'll make this as brief as possible, as we have still a bit to cover. I would like to repeat the thank you to the REF and the funding that they give us to the schools and bringing us programs such as this STEAM club, which will, as we move forward with the reconfiguration, become more of an elective for the students in those grade groups, in those year groups. So that'll be, I think, move the program along even further. The thanks to the members of the board for moving the meeting. This meeting was scheduled originally for last week, and we felt the risk of the transit strike might delay some of us from being able to attend the meeting on a timely basis. This week it looked like a snowstorm was going to possibly do it, but thank you for being flexible on that. You should have received, I think everyone today, notice of the CSA evaluations from the New Jersey School Boards Association. So this is something that, it's an annual requirement that we go through online and do that evaluation. So please try to get to that as soon as you can. Our drop dead date on it is...
Well, it really should be in by May 9th.
May 9th.
Because on the 23rd, that would give the elements a time to compile it. And then we would have to have a meeting with us. And then the last meeting on June 20th is when we would have Mr. Rowley come in with it. So May 9th is the deadline. It's about 5 weeks.
I can tell you from personal experience that if you start to approach that date, there'll be someone named Jones all over you like a cheap suit. She will. Thank you, and thank you for being our conscience on that, Diane. We appreciate it. As we enter spring, we have a lot of events at the different schools. So if there's any of you who have a particular event you're interested in, and if it's something that the school board is participating in, please get in touch with me, and we'll try to make sure that you can be, part of that. We're going to. I attended the meeting as a couple of us did, the superintendent's coffee on Saturday morning. I think it was number one, it's a great initiative. It happened this week to be particularly important because there were a number of community members that wanted to speak, to a particular issue. So again, we would encourage you to keep those, on a periodic basis. I think it's very, very useful. One of the things that came out of it was just, general discussion about how we can better communicate to the community and solicit feedback from the community. And we shared with those that were there that, that's actually one of our goals. And so we're very interested in anything that a member of the public might have as a suggestion to us on that. The next item of business, or next item on the agenda, is that we're going to open the meeting to the public. And in this point in the meeting, that is normally for agenda items. Agenda item under curriculum number 8 was originally planned to be the assignment of the service provider for the before school and after school program. As a result of a number of inquiries and questions that the community had on that, we've tabled that for tonight, so we will not be moving on that. There will be a presentation from the service providers as discussed on April 4th, and then on April 25th would be when the motion would be back on. But because this was a late change on the agenda, what I would like to do is if someone came this evening with the intent of speaking on that, and if they're not able to attend the meeting on the 4th, then we would invite them to attend, to speak to that this evening. If you can attend on the 4th, I think that's the more appropriate time, to do that. And we don't want to repeat, the same issues, because it could be that many people will hope to speak on that on the 4th. So at this point, any questions from the board on topics? Okay, it is 8:46, and we would open the meeting to the public for comment from the public for any items that are on the agenda for consideration this evening. It is still 8:46, and we will close the public comment time period, and we will move into our items of new business on which action will be taken. I would ask Mrs. Ahmed to handle personnel, please.
Surely. All right, I'd like to move the following resignations, retirement, salary adjustments, reassignments, appointments, etc., as recommended by the superintendent of schools, pending approval from the State Department of Education, subject to the New Jersey criminal background check and other legal requirements.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Jones? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, could you continue, please?
Number 1, Dennis Mullins, to accept the retirement of Dennis Mullins, Supervisor of Fine, Practical, and Performing Arts, with regret, effective October 1st, 2016. And number 2, Joseph Wells, to accept the retirement of Joseph Wells, math teacher at Rutherford High School, with regret, effective June 30th, 2016. And I'd just like to say, when I was telling my son he retired, he said, "Mom, that was the best math teacher he ever had." So, we will miss Mr. Wells and also Mr. Mullins. He's been around since I think I've been in school. So 3, retirement monies, to approve the following payback of sick days as per agreement between the Rutherford Board of Ed and the Rutherford Education Association for Carol Villana and Arthur Schreckenstein. 4, Laura Paszkowski, to approve her as teacher assistant at Pierpont School from March 17th, 2016 to June 23rd, 2016. Number 5, Lori Sabatino to adjust her start date for the disability leave from March 14th, 2016 to March 7th, 2016. Jackie Mann to adjust her start date as a long-term sub-teacher at Pierpont School from March 14th, 2016 to March 7th, 2016. 7 substitute teachers to approve the following teachers for the school year March 22nd, 2016. Per diem rate of $80 in accordance with the law. Eva Dabrowski and Jinhee Park. 8 substitute teacher assistants to approve assistants for 2015-16, effective March 27, 2016, and that's a difference of hourly rate of $10. Mark Davidson and Jinhee Park. 9 Tara Matoka to approve a disability leave with pay for Tara, library media specialist at Pierpont School, effective June 8th through 20 days following the birth of her baby. 10 Frontline ASAP to approve the contract with Frontline Technologies ASAP for the 2016-17 school year at the rate of $7,819.50. Barbara Gibson, 11, to approve her as lunch monitor at Pierpont School, the hourly rate of $10 for 2 hours per day. 12, Anna Marie Eska, to approve her as lunch monitor at Lincoln School, effective March 21st, the same at the rate of $10 for 2 hours per day. And this is replacement, they were both replacement positions. 13, Catherine Bertrand, to approve disability leave with pay for her physical education teacher at Union School, effective May 31st through 20 days following the birth of her baby, to be followed by child rearing leave of absence under the Family Leave Act without pay through December 15th, 2016. Number 14, Amy Coughlin, to approve Amy Coughlin as a substitute long-term teacher at Lincoln School, effective May 16th through June 23rd, 2016, and this is a replacement position. 15, Daniel Hennessy, to approve him as a long-term, it is Daniel, right?
Yes.
Or is it Danielle? Daniel. Social Studies teacher at Pierpont School, March 28th through April 22nd, 2016, per diem rate of $258. It's a leave replacement position. 16, Christopher Danny, to approve as a long-term substitute teacher at Lincoln School from March 14th to April 1st at $240.50. Replacement position.
Mrs. Ahmed, I'll
Yeah.
ask you to stop at this point.
Okay.
And just because there's a technicality
17,
we're going to
18.
deal with coming up. So with your agreement, we will ask the board to move on personnel resolutions 1 through 16, and we'll take a vote on that. Is that there, we need a second for that. If somebody would second by Mrs. Jones. And then, any questions or on 1 through 16 comments?
I just have a
Yes?
question about the frontline ASAP item. Can you just explain what that is?
That's a substitute service. That's how staff, and also maintains our attendance records, so.
Any other questions on 1 through 16? Mr. Secretary.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Arce?
Yes.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanny?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Mr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
And if you will continue with 17. Please.
Would you like to remind them?
We can as we discuss it.
Okay. Board granted sick days. I'm going to read it then, okay? To approve a maximum of 54 board granted sick days to employee B, name on file as superintendent, to take employee B through his disability leave to June 30th, 2016, after his sick and personal days have been used, to be deducted from the total upon retirement. 18, sidebar agreement to approve the sidebar agreement between the Rutherford Board of Ed and the Rutherford Education Association to permit staff members to donate up to a maximum of 54 sick days to employee B to take him through his disability leave of till June 30th, 2016. 19, board granted sick days. To approve a maximum of 29 board granted sick days to employee C, name on file, to take employee C through her disability leave of April 1st, 2016, after her sick and personal days have been used to be deducted from her total upon retirement. 20, sidebar agreement. To approve the sidebar agreement between the Rutherford Board of Ed and Rutherford Education Association to permit staff members to donate up to a maximum of 29 sick days to employee C to take her through her disability leave of April 1st, 2016. 21, rescind the motion. It was a personnel motion on February 22nd to approve Christian Mecca as a long-term substitute social studies teacher at Pierpont School. Well, that's to rescind that one. And 22, high school co-curricular, to approve and rescind the following high school assignment for the 15-16 school year. Rescind Judith DePasquale, yearbook advisor, and then approve her as yearbook advisor at $1,163. 23, Beverly DeBilio, to approve an unpaid leave of absence under the New Jersey Family Leave Act for Beverly DeBilio, lunch monitor at Lincoln School, March 21st, 16 through June 23rd, 2016. 24, Christine Farnham, to adjust her hours lunch monitor at Lincoln School from 2 hours per day to 3 hours, starting on March 21st. James Brahaney, 25, to adjust the start date for disability leave for him on April 18th to March 28th, 2016, and to adjust the return date from May 9th, 2016 to April 25th, 2016. And finally, 26 travel reimbursements, to approve the following travel reimbursements for the 2016 school year as listed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Chu? Wasn't necessarily faster, Mary, but he was a little louder.
Sorry.
He wasn't necessarily faster, but he was a little louder with it. So we'll open for discussion. Personnel items 17 through 26.
Yes.
And well, I'm going to explain what. Yes. So what we have is that the resolutions 18 and 20 are resolutions whereby the Education Association will help a member who needs sick days. For us to accept those sidebar agreements, the first thing we must do is deny 17 and 19. So the customary action here, each board member votes as they feel, but the customary action would be to vote no on numbers 17 and 19, and then yes on 18 and 20, and whatever your vote is on the other resolutions. Are there any questions about that? Okay. I think people will just Yeah, I think just,
Can't we just
so you can call out if you want to specify a particular vote. Yes, Mrs.
17
Jones?
and 19.
But on the high school co-curricular, was it just the amount that was wrong?
It wasn't wrong. The amount, the position has mutually agreement with the advisor and the administration has been cut in half or even less than half due to most of the responsibilities being done now online. So there are some other clubs and some other programs that would like to use some of that stipend, and the REA was consulted and met with on this, and the agreement was to reduce that stipend to a fair amount, and then we'll be able to come back with maybe an approval for another club or activity that doesn't receive a stipend. And everyone, the advisor and the REA officers were in agreement on this.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or? So we're going to move 17 through 26, and you may want to call out a different vote on 17 and 19 as you choose.
Mrs. Ahmed?
No on 17 and 19, and yes on all the rest.
Thank you. Mr. Arce?
Yes on all resolutions, except for 17 and 19.
And that's no. Thank you. Mr. Chu?
Yes on all resolutions except 17 and 19, no.
Thank you. Mrs. Jones?
Yes on all resolutions, no on 17, and no on 19.
Mrs. Lanny?
No on 17 and 19, yes on all the rest.
Mrs. Labrera?
No on 17 and 19, yes on the rest.
Mr. Mazzone?
No on 17, no on 19, yes to all the others.
Mr. Racine?
No on 17, no on 19, yes to the rest.
And Mr. McLean?
No on number 17 and number 19, yes to the rest, please.
Okay. Motion's carried or not. Thank you.
We'll come up with a better way to. So we'll move into the next section of the agenda, which is curriculum and instruction. And I would ask Mrs. Landon to move this, please.
Rutherford Board of Ed resolves to approve home instruction. This is item number 1, home instruction, for the following students. Student number 29593, effective 3/10/16. Student 13563, effective 4/4/16. Student 10434, effective 4/4/16. Number 2, curriculum guides. Resolved by the Rutherford Board of Ed to approve the following new or revised curriculum guides as listed. Number 3, out-of-district placements. The board resolves to approve the attached list for contracts for tuition and other services provided for out-of-district placements for the 2015-2016 school year. Number 4, harassment, intimidation, and bullying decision. The Board of Ed affirms the superintendent's decision in HIB investigation number 2015-12 for the reasons set forth in the superintendent's decision to the student's parents, and directs the business administrative board secretary to transmit a copy of the board's decision to the affected student's parents. Number 5, harassment, intimidation, and bullying decision, also resolved by the Board of Ed to affirm the superintendent's decision. Number 6, comprehensive equity plan. The Board of Ed resolves to approve the adoption of the comprehensive equity plan for the school year 2016-17 through 2018-19. Number 7, semi-corrective action plan. Be it resolved by the Rutherford Board of Ed to approve the submission of the Special Education Medicaid Initiative, SEMI, Program Corrective Action Plan to the New Jersey Department of Ed to document steps to be taken to improve parent participation in the program. Number 8 has been tabled. Number 9, calendar change. Resolved to adjust the 2015-16 school calendar to reflect a professional development day for faculty and staff on Tuesday, May 31st, 2016. Schools will be closed for students on that day. Number 10, preschool program. To approve a full-day preschool disabled ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis class at Washington School for the 2016-17 school year. 11, special education class. To approve a multiple disabled program at the Union School for the 2016-17 school year. Number 12, field trip approvals. To to approve the attached list of field trips for the 2015 school year. 13, textbook adoption. Resolved to approve the following textbooks as listed. And number 13, job description. Approve the following new job description for the network technician 2-282 period 1 : as described. And that's it.
Thank you. Noting to the board that the last item, job description, is incorrectly numbered in your agenda. It should be number 14.
That's correct, yes.
And so we will ask, I would ask someone, and I'm going to be very, a little clear about this just so there's no confusion about it. I would ask someone to second resolutions 1 through 7 and 9 through 14, stating that, please.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Racine. And the reason is I want to make sure there's no misconception or no misconstruing that number 8 is not part of the vote. So we are, any discussions on items 1 through 7 or 9 through 14? No discussions, no questions. So,
Other than
yes.
this is a wonderful opportunity for us to provide for preschool programs. If I have this correct, there will be 4 programs now. One preschool at Washington and Lincoln, and then the special ABA at Washington, and then another class at Union School, which would be a multiple disabled class.
Yes, the class of union schools, although for middle school age students.
And they're older students.
Yep.
But that keeps our students in district and affords a wonderful opportunity for them and for us in helping us to reach some of the
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so the secretary will call the roll for curriculum and instruction items 1 through 7 and 9 through 14.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Arce?
Yes.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanny?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Mr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Okay. So we are having a presentation on the preliminary budget, which will be submitted to the county superintendent. Which will be resolution number 4. We're going to take a while. Do we move them first and then you'll get the, where do you want to get it? Okay, so we're going to see the presentation first and then we'll move the finance items. Stand at my podium.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We're going to keep this pretty short because we did this at last month's meeting and not a lot has changed from that. I went into a lot of detail on that and all that pretty much stands. So I think what you're going to see here is what's changed since then. Budget objectives. A couple changes here has just been discussed and Mrs. Jones just commented on. Build upon the current program offerings, implement the middle and upper school elementary school reorganization, implement the preschool program, And then the next two are new since we discussed this last month. The implement the full-time preschool ABA program and implement the full-time middle school multiple disabled program. Those two programs the board just approved about 2 minutes ago. And then continue the phase-in of the one-to-one device program and provide for improvements, maintenance, repair. So that's those are the things we're trying to cram into this budget. Sources of funds, nothing has changed here. State aid, federal aid, miscellaneous, nothing changed there either since last month. So we're not going to discuss it, but I do want to talk about one thing on the local tax levy. We started with a base of $38.2 million, and that's the local tax levy in effect for the 15-16 school year. To that, we are allowed, we're held to a 2% cap. We can increase that for the following school year by 2%. There are, however, a couple of allowable adjustments to that number that would permit the board to present a budget that is more than a 2% increase to the tax levy. One of those, and the only one that pertains to us right now, is healthcare. And what this is doing is saying that the state is recognizing that a 2% increase in your tax levy does not necessarily cover cost increases for particular items. In this case, healthcare premiums, we've budgeted a 12% increase. That is a little light compared to our to what our healthcare consultant has recommended. He recommended 12 to 15%. Went with 12% because this budget is tight. I'm broken record year after year on that one. But because of that 12% increase, the state does acknowledge that it's hard to cram that into a 2% tax levy increase, so we can go up a little bit higher. The budget system does allow us to go up almost $127,000 on that number, and that's what we are asking for. And I should mention too, the motion number 4, finance motion, the budget motion that you're asked to approve, has been amended to reflect this $126,000, and I gave you each a copy of the new one. The one that's in the agenda shows almost $111,000 adjustment. As I continue to go in and play with the budget system, changes result, and that's what's happened there.
You should keep playing.
Yeah, I'm not playing with benefits anymore, so I don't think that's it. So that's what we're asking the board to approve tonight, which would give us a base of just over $39 million, which now represents 92.7% of total revenues, up from 91.8% last year. And this reflects the fact that the state is not pulling their weight, but we've discussed that before. So that is what we are looking for the board to approve for me to submit tomorrow. As we've discussed before, the big driver in the budget has been our out-of-district placements. We have an obligation to educate all resident students, ages 3 to 18, sometimes 21. And if we cannot do it in-house, then we have an obligation to send them to a school that can provide those services, and we have an obligation to pay for that. The number of out-of-district placements has increased dramatically over the last couple of years, and we've discussed this. And in fact, as we go through this budget now, as I've told you, tomorrow I have to submit a preliminary budget, and that date is carved in stone. I had to make sure that budget balanced, of course, but word is coming down the pike that there are 6 or 8 more students who need out-of-district services that need to be built into the budget. So when we go to the public hearing on April 25th, the budget has to reflect those students. Now, having said that, at this point, we can't do anything more with the supply of funds, with the pot of funds we're talking about. So when we talk about a 2% plus allowable adjustments tax levy cap, we can't increase that. What we have to do is look at the expenditures that are in the budget and see what we can cut out, reduce, save for a later day, and find the money that way. So that's going to be the challenge for the next few weeks, and we will certainly keep the Finance Committee apprised and by extension the board.
If I could just add one, Mrs. Jones, I think worded perfectly the benefits of the in-district program to allow students to be maintained in their school interact with general education students, be a part of a school community. We have talked over the last several months about the economic burden that tuition puts on us. And we were honest, I think, in saying, I was honest in saying, that in bringing students back, you're doing the benefit for the students, but you're also reaping that savings in tuition. But that said, 11 students can come back into these programs, and in the last 3 weeks, as Mr. Kelly alluded to, we have 6 students sitting on our collective desks here that are pending going out. So, yes, it does help the burden, the economic burden. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't remove the strain on the budget, the driving force of the budget. It helps, but I think this clearly makes the point that this is not I'm not going to lie, it's an economic motive to get some tuition back, but the main motive is to get kids back in the district, because this is not solving the problem. And to Mr. Kelly's point, the figure that gets approved tonight is the figure. But now we're going to spend the next 3 weeks trying to figure out where we tweak, where we adjust, where we reallocate to accommodate these extra tuitions that have come in. So I wanted to just make that point.
Thank you. This is the same slide, excuse me, that we talked about last month. I haven't updated it for these new students coming in, but I will for the public hearing on April 25th. But again, it shows this dramatic increase over time. And in fact, that last purple bar there is going to be significantly higher. That's what we're talking about. That's the issue that we have heading into the public hearing. Nope, missed one. No, I did. This is our favorite slide. So this one bears repeating. This is adult district cost per pupil. If you can read this down the left-hand side, there's about 10 school districts in Bergen County who are all in the same district factor group we are in. The district factor group is the state's socioeconomic classification of every school district, so that every district that's in a similar socioeconomic group gets compared. So they're all on that same playing field. If you look up at the top, TNEC, and I'm sorry, I'm going to take a step back here. The top number for each district is the 14-15 budget, and the bottom number is the 13-14 actual. These are the most recent numbers that the state has compiled. TNEC is operating at about $19,600 per student. Rutherford is all the way down at the bottom line, operating about $13,600 per student. So as you can see, TNEC runs their school with about 50% more money than we do per student. So we do operate this district very economically. I think we get a lot of bang for our buck, but we are in a different category of spending than every other district on that chart. And in fact, the third line from the bottom is the New Jersey state average. So we're spending less than the average of every other state district in New Jersey. So this is just something to consider. There's not much we can do about it, but this is...
And just to, again, Mr. Kelly started by saying not much, very little in this presentation was different from what we did a few weeks ago. But I will repeat what I said a few weeks ago. With a 2% cap, we cannot change that even if we wanted to very much. We cannot, we could go out for a second question, but we couldn't raise it with the 2% cap, which is why I think we need to look to allocate our resources wisely, why we need to keep reviewing programs, and why we need to take advantage of any revenue that we can get within reason that's going to help us provide what we need to provide for the students. Much of what we are talking about doing involves putting equipment into buildings and technology into kids' hands and teachers in front of the classroom, and all that costs money. So I'm very impressed with the work that Mr. Kelly and the board and the finance committee and the administration and the teachers and the staff have done to be able to do all the things we talked about, reorganizing the district, bringing in preschool, bringing back special ed programs, and not going out to referendums and the like. But we need to keep facing the fiscal responsibility that we have, both in watching what we spend, but realizing that we want our students to have what the students have in other places. So it's a constant working collaboration that we need to do to maintain the budget, to maintain fiscal responsibility, but to keep bringing in these new programs. So keep that in mind as we go forward, and even with the final hearing on the 25th of April, which is what it's scheduled for, we'll be talking specifically about how we made some adjustments into the budget to offset the tuition. We're doing that with the mindset of trying to bring the best program to our students.
Also on behalf of the Finance Committee, we have been meeting with Mr. Kelly and Mr. Hurley for some months now. And I would just like to echo Mr. Hurley's comments. It's really quite commendable that we are able to do as much as we are going to do differently next year versus this year, still remaining within the cap, particularly when you look at this graph and you see where we are relative to other districts, where our spending per pupil is already on the lowest on that list, that we've been able to find creative ways of funding programmatic improvements and doing it in a fiscally responsible and conservative way. It's very commendable.
Thank you. Finally, the tax impact. We talked about the 2% tax levy cap and the additional $126,000. That results in a 2.3% tax levy increase for next year. We're looking at the top line here, the general fund. It comes to about $140 per average assessed value in Rutherford, or about $11.66 per month. Debt service fund is coming down. That was agreed to, approved 15 years ago. That's our obligation for principal and interest payments, but that does go down a little bit. So there's a nice, a little offset there. Keep in mind. So the net impact is a 2.2% increase, $11.40 per month for the average homeowner, or the homeowner of the average assessed property. And then finally, just the next steps. First line is where we are right now. Tomorrow I have to get this into the county office, and that will happen. Monday, April 25th, as we said, is, that's the county office approval date, but that also is our public hearing. So that'll be the next public discussion of the budget. Any questions? Or?
Good job.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you.
Joe, should the resolution say final?
No, it's preliminary until the county.
It says final.
Yeah. Oh, it does say.
Revised resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're looking at the addendum. Yeah, that's in the first paragraph. That should not say the final school district budget. This is still the preliminary school district budget. It'll be final after the public hearing. So what you're doing here is allowing me or permitting me to submit this to the county office tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. And at this point then, if we ask the Finance Committee Chair, Mrs. Cabrera, to present the motions for action.
Sure. Number one, the approval of bills totaling $4,191,749.33. Number two, to approve the Secretary Treasury Report for the month of January 2016. Number three, the budget transfers for the period for the period of January 1st, 2016 through January 31st, 2016. And number four, be it resolved by the Rutherford Board of Education that the preliminary school district budget be approved for the 2016-2017 school year as follows. General Fund, $42,174,589. Special revenue, $817,017. Debt service, $1,466,250, for a total of $44,457,856. Be it further resolved, the funding for the school district budget for the 16-17 school year, the following are the amounts necessary to be raised by local taxation: $39,095,359 for the general fund. Debt service, $1,466,250,000, for a total of $40,561,609. Be it further resolved that the school year budget includes automatic adjustments for an increase in healthcare costs, $126,921, in accordance with NJSA 18A 7F39E. Number 5, coordinated transportation services. Number 6, district travel.
Thank you. Do I have a second on finance resolutions 1 through 6, please?
Second.
Mr. Mazal? Any questions or comments to discuss? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes, and I'll accept on number 1. Abstain on check 16522 and 16523 and 16524.
Thank you. Mr. Arce?
Yes on all resolutions.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanny?
Yes.
Mrs. Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Mr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to policy, and we would ask Mr. Chu to present the resolution.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have just one, election and duties of president. Be it resolved by the Rutherford Board of Education to approve the following revisions to policy number 9121, election and duties of president, on second reading. See attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Jones? Any questions or comments? Secretary, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Arce?
Yes.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Mrs. Lanny?
Yes.
Mrs. Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Mr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
And Mr. Arce, would you please move buildings and grounds?
Yes, Mr. President. We've got 2 resolutions on the buildings and grounds. They're both change orders. First is the change order for Sylvan School electric service. Whereas on April 14, 2014 meeting with the Rutherford Board of Education, awarded the contract to GL Group in the amount of $401,000 to upgrade the electric service. And whereas in the course of performing renovation work, it was determined and confirmed that procedures included in the original scope of work were not needed to be performed. And be it resolved to approve a change order in the amount of $2,128.90 to the original contract with GL Group due to unused remaining allowance, decreasing the total contract amount to $871,010. Resolution 2 be resolved, whereas on April 14th, meeting with the Board of Education award to the GL Group again in an amended amount of $398 and $871,010 to upgrade the electrical service. And whereas in the course of performing the work, it was determined by a district architect that procedures including the original scope also not needed to be performed in order to complete the project in accordance with the specifications, and be resolved by the Board of Education to approve a change order in the amount of $3,600 to the original contract due to a credit for removing existing damaged metal doors, providing new wood double doors by C&M Door Controls, decreasing the total contract amount to $395,271.10.
Thank you. Is there a second? Questions 1 and 2?
Second.
Mrs. Lanning? Any questions, comments, discussion? Yes?
Yeah. What's the difference between 1 and 2 exactly? Were these either two separate contracts or?
No, it's the same contract. It's two separate change orders. The first one is certain allowances that were built into the price were not used, so that comes off the contract value. The second one was the contractor had damaged some of the interior doors, so we paid to replace them, and then with the understanding that they would pay us back, and that's what that's doing. So
Okay. So it got lowered twice.
Yes.
Okay.
For two separate reasons.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other questions? Secretary?
Okay, Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Arce?
Yes.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanny?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Mr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay, we enter the agenda item for old business or any business that a board member would like to rise.
I just want to make another comment on the play. It was so wonderful. I went to the children's performance on Sunday at 3 o'clock, but the costumes, the design, the music, it is quite an effort, and I should be very, very proud. I see Keith there also. It's just, supporting them is just so wonderful. And I did find out today, they really raise all the money with the ads in the journal to pay for those costumes, because they're all rented, are they not?
Yes, and it's a very small budget out of student activities, $200, and then they raise ads, and they also are able to use the ticket sales to add to that coffer. But remember, they have to pay for the rights of the play as well, and they're expensive. And when you do a play like a Disney play, it's the happiest place on earth, but they're happy because they make a lot of money. So the rates are pretty high there too.
I just want to add, I mean, it was a tour de force. I mean, the students, the actors, the musicians, everyone behind the scenes. I mean, it was simply outstanding. And we have a very talented and gifted student body here. And we're extremely proud. I'm very proud as well, I'm sure.
And it's a tradition, I think, every year. Seems to, the group of students that come forward with that and the talent they show is exceptional. We're a lucky, fortunate community. Yes, Mrs.
I just wanted to say one thing. It was very sad news that a lot of you probably read about Margaret Shack passing away, and she was such a part of our audience. I mean, she used to come every board meeting and check every dime and penny and sit in the office with the ex. I don't think you knew her, no. But she used to sit with Bob and go over all the little tiny details of any kind of number that ever passed by our vision. So she was in representing the taxpayers when she was here, but she did such a job for them, and she kept everyone in check. And I would just like to thank her family for sharing her with us, because she was some woman.
I believe she was the first woman mayor.
Yeah, she was a mayor, but when she came here, she wasn't.
No, she wasn't. She did ask me one time why we needed white gloves for the marching band. So you're right. She looked at every item.
But you're right. She was remarkable.
She was.
Her command of the numbers was impressive. Thank you for that comment. Any legislative update, Mrs.
There is one bill that's pending about whether candidates can run together on the ballot, until we know about that would be issue. Because if you had a couple of candidates that want to run together, it's just their ballot number had to do with the selection ballot, the counting, 1, 2, 3, wherever it is. Now there's a new proposal that they might be able to group them all together. So we'll see where that goes.
And no doubt it won't be, yeah. Okay, thank you. It is 9:33, and we will open the floor to the public for comment on any subject, any topic that someone would wish to address. I'm not even going to look at my watch. I'm guessing it's still 9:33, and we will close the floor for discussion. Thank you. We need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing multiple student issues and negotiations. No, okay. Okay, okay, and one personnel item?
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Okay. And we will be gone 20 minutes, action may or may not be taken. Motion to go in?
Motion to go into executive session to discuss personal matter, or personal